I am Amy Vetter, and welcome to the Breaking Beliefs podcast. This valuable time is for you to pause in your day and go on your own self-journey. Discover the beliefs that are holding you back from living your best life at work and at home. Learn from the guests on this show as they share their inspirational stories on how they found ways to break internal beliefs that were no longer serving them. Because if you believe you can, you will. And our podcast begins now. Welcome to this episode of Breaking Beliefs. And today I am going to do a solo episode because what I have seen with so many group consulting calls, helping leaders just to be able to do the work that they want to do and be able to feel like they are accomplishing the things that they want to accomplish. And there's been some key things that have come up in the last couple months that I'm going to do separate episodes here coming up because I think so many of us feel those areas. It's not an isolated feeling where a lot of times we do feel it's isolated because we're in our own experience. And those areas are overwhelm, not having enough time, imposter syndrome, confidence, and communicating above or below you. So I'm sure one or many of those might resonate with you. I know they resonate with me, and it takes all of us to support one another and be accountable to making sure that we can get through those times when we're feeling this way. And the first step of any of these areas is really just being aware that you feel this way. So some of us run through our life and we might be feeling off, but we don't actually step back and pause and really try to understand what is the feelings that we're having that's inside of us that we're pushing down all day to just get through the day. And that piece of awareness is called the intuitive mind. The intuitive mind is messages, whether it be in how your body feels, that you might be feeling it in different areas of your body, and you might be ignoring it, but your intuition is telling you to slow down or to pay attention, and you might not be paying attention to it because that's our rational mind. Our rational mind pushes those feelings down, and we tell ourselves we can't feel that way because of whatever we're trying to accomplish or whatever we perceive is important, that maybe nobody else feels that way. We are just perceiving it that way. Usually with most things, when we talk about these feelings, that we are building something up in our minds that probably everybody else is not noticing because that's happening internally for us. And everybody else is so busy with their day and all of the things that they need to do and accomplish and the feelings that they're having internally inside that we can't see, that they don't actually notice, right? And they notice when it affects them. And so today, what we're going to focus on is the overwhelm. And we'll take an episode to focus on each of these areas. But I wanted to start there because that seems to be a resounding one for so many people. And we can keep thinking we're going to get over that hump, and then more stuff keeps coming at us, right? I know I can feel that way over and over again. I am a business owner myself, and I can plan out my day and want to accomplish certain things. And then the day kind of laughs at you and tells you there's other things that need to get done. And when we start feeling that overwhelm, those are the moments in our day where we need to step back, get present, and see where we can shift. Because a lot of times what happens is when our emotions come out about it, it comes out about the people around us or the environment around us or the things that we feel are happening that are creating that overwhelm. But we don't always actually think about what are the things we can control to be able to remove that feeling of overwhelm. And one of those things that I'm going to offer up today is making a list of all the things that are overwhelming you. And when you do this, first off, you need to make sure that you put time on your calendar to set aside for this and really make sure that you're getting present before you do it. So you don't want to do it in haste or in feeling like you're right in the middle of it and then you're not actually present when you're writing this list down, that you want to step back and just be still. And so it really only takes us 2 minutes to reset. And we've talked about a lot of tools on this podcast that can help you with resetting, but just getting silent and quiet and stepping away from the emails coming at you or turning on the do not disturb and just closing your eyes for just 2 minutes. And you can set an alarm on your phone, just to allow yourself to reset. And when we reset, we utilize our breath to reset and slowing our breath down. So when we take our focus to our breath, it allows us to focus on something other than our thoughts. Our mind can't think about two things at the same time. So when we shift our focus to that and we start slowing down our body, it allows us to get silent and to get still so that we can let go of whatever experience we were in and be present for the next experience that's to come. And so, even if you need to pause this podcast for a moment, just to get still, just to close your eyes and take some deep breaths. And when you take those breaths, you might want to think about counting your breaths so that you're keeping them slow and steady on equal inhales and exhales. And then once you've settled in, just coming back to the present and to the task at hand. And the task at hand is to understand your overwhelm. And so, what I want you to do is take out a piece of paper or use a spreadsheet, however you want to do it. And you're going to make one column for everything that is overwhelming me in this moment. And you're just going to brainstorm everything. I am overwhelmed by this. I'm overwhelmed by that. And it could be things at home. It could be things at work. It could be the smallest little things that are just driving you nuts during the day. I want you to go as fast as you can and write as many things down that are overwhelming you in this moment. And in the second column, you're going to go back to all of the things that you wrote down that are overwhelming you. And in each row, I want you to check off whether you have control over it or whether you don't have control over it. So just a yes or a no, but so that you're clear of which things that you can impact. Sometimes we feel like we can't impact anything. And so when we take an honest look at all of these areas that are keeping us stuck in this feeling of overwhelm, it starts becoming clearer. And we just allow that to free flow out of us. So it's not sitting inside of us, it's not palpitating within us, that we get it all out on paper and we're very clear on what things we can control and what things we can't control. And then once you've written that second column and gotten clear on which of these items that you've written down that are creating overwhelm that you have control over, in those rows that you have control over, in the third column, I want you to write your actions. So, what is one action that you can take with each of these areas that are overwhelming you? And those are things that you can do in your control. And a lot of times when we see this list, we realize that there's things within us that are creating the overwhelm. And it might be because we want to please someone or show up in a certain way, or where we had a belief system for a long time that we had to be at work at a certain time and leave at a certain time, or that we feel guilty if people see us leave the office. I've been hearing that a lot. And it's really important when you write that area down if it's overwhelming you, because then you're not getting home till later, you're not able to enjoy the evening or even decompress. And so when your hours are too long in the office, then you show up frustrated, you show up tired, your energy is different. So, really questioning, why do you feel you have to stay there until everybody leaves? And what impact are you having on the people around you when that happens? Who told you you have to stay there? We feel like people are watching us or judging us. And the question to ask is, do you judge people that are leaving the office? Probably not, because you're in your own work. You are into the things that you've got to get done, and you're not there to babysit everyone and their work. So, same thing is realizing that no one's probably observing when you are walking in or leaving as well, and they don't know what your schedule is. You could be doing some work from home, some work from the office. And so that's really something that you can control. That's a belief system that is sitting inside of you. So once you've taken that list of the things that you can control and one action you could take with each of those things that are overwhelming you that you can control, and there is probably a simple action that you could shift. So let's just keep with that example of that you feel like you have to leave the office at 6 or 6:30, and you're worried that people are observing you or judging you. Well, instead, maybe change the time that you are going to leave each day at 5:30. And so just back it up 30 minutes and see how that might impact you. And so create a goal for yourself over the next 30 days so that you can keep pushing yourself each day to do those things. It's just 30 minutes, and that is something that you're going to have to remind yourself when you are leaving, that it is not bad, that you don't have to worry what others are thinking. It's only a 30-minute difference, and I'm okay to leave. I have earned the spot to leave work. Whatever kind of mantra or intention that you want to pre-plan when you're going to feel that feeling of guilt when you are leaving, or that feeling of worry when you're leaving, so that you're not so concerned what others are thinking, and you're shifting your energy when you walk out of that door, because you also want to think about what is the benefit of you leaving at 5:30. You'll get home earlier, maybe you'll be able to take a walk outside, you might be able to be with your partner or your spouse or your family earlier, be able to eat dinner with them and you haven't been able to eat dinner with them. And maybe it's not something you can do every single day, but even if you could plan for this 2 days a week or 3 days a week and see the shift of how it might feel, and what things will you have to let go of so that you are not feeling overwhelmed, that it's okay at the end of the day, I've got to think about how I'm going to be able to shift this. So if I want to leave at 5:30, that probably means that I've got to end my work at 5 o'clock. And when I end my work at 5 o'clock, I've got to make a list of all the things that I need to prioritize for the next day, clear out any emails or calls so that I'm clear on those things, and making sure that that's not cluttering my head when I leave work, so that I'm not concerned that there are things that I don't even know that need to get done that are sitting out there. So when I feel like I have cleaned things up so that I've cleared the space to be able to leave and I'm able to be present, I'm able to really figure out what is important for me to focus on and not look at everything I have to do, but the things that are top priority, and know that there's a slot to do it and I've planned for that slot to do it. Then I can leave in my day without feeling that feeling of overwhelm or stress or that I'm concerned how people are going to think about me. So we've got to think about, if we're going to change a habit, what things do we need to do to back ourselves up to ensure that we can change that habit? And we've also thought about how we're going to feel when we do something different. It's something outside of our norm. So our body's not used to it. Our brain is not used to it. Our heart is not used to it. So if we're going to change a habit and we're going to change the way we go about something, then it's important for us to think about, how are we going to shift that energy to make sure we stay positive or on track? It's the same thing if we decide we're going to exercise every day or we're going to change our diet. Those are change in the way we do a routine. Our neural channels are set in those routines and habits. So we've got to train our mind to think differently, to feel differently, and to create an energy about it. So, a great thing that you can do when you set these goals is, at the end of the day, look at what went well today, what didn't go well today, and what will I do different tomorrow. And why this is important is because we don't want to give up when it's not working. Or if we set the goal for 3 days this week to leave at 5:30, but we only left 2 days at 5:30 and then feel disappointed in ourselves. There's no award here except that we're trying to overcome this feeling of overwhelm. And so we've got to stay on course, but not every action or plan that we set in place before we know how it's going to work, it's going to work. There's little tweaks or adjustments that we need to make over time, and that's okay. So, being okay to shift, to be agile in any plan that you create is really important. And so, staying on track is making sure that you're journaling how it's working, how it's going, how are you feeling, what's your energy like? Are you still feeling overwhelmed? If you are feeling overwhelmed, why? What thing can you control and shift the next day to make sure that you don't feel that way? So, bringing back the ownership and the accountability to yourself rather than looking to what other people can do for you to get out of this can really shift the energy that you create for yourself, but also the energy you create for the people around you. So, just as a review, I want you to get present and take 2 minutes so that you can just be still for this exercise. Create a list of everything that you are overwhelmed by. Also, note whether you control it or not control it. And then, what action can you take? What one action can you take for each of those areas in order to shift it? And then when you create your goal for the next 30 days, only pick one or two of those things. Try not to create too many goals because that is really hard to do. So you're going to create one goal so that you can accomplish it over the next 30 days. And then you're going to think about, how I'm going to keep my energy up for this goal so that I feel like I can accomplish it. And what things am I going to have to do prior to me taking this new action to ensure I've cleared the space to be able to accomplish it? So I'm excited to hear if any of you take the step and start feeling a change when you actually put a plan in place. And at the end of the day, when you are kind of evaluating whether it's working or not working, a really good thing to do is a gratitude practice. So understand or thank yourself for something that went well today based on this. And try to notice even the little things. They don't have to be huge things, but the fact that you did take the time to do it. And maybe you still felt a little bit of guilt, but you noticed that it helped you when you had an intention or a mantra to shift your energy so that you felt better. Just come back and observe yourself and give yourself space so that you stay on track with everything for this. So, with any kind of change that we create and energy, we might get used to talking about these things, and the hardest person to change is you. So, we often try to change things outside of us, but it's actually very hard to change ourselves and to change habits and patterns that have been created our whole time in our lives. So sometimes these answers can seem obvious once we take the time to write them down and think them through and so forth. But what happens is that we often realize that it, even though it was obvious, we weren't listening. And that's our intuitive mind, right? We weren't listening to what was creating that stress for us in our bodies and what things we could do. So make sure that you take these moments to step back, to disconnect in order to connect with yourself and see where you can make these little shifts to change how you may be feeling. And we are going to be having a brand new work-life harmony program coming up this fall for people that want to make these shifts, and a structured program to get you back in balance, to bring you work-life harmony. So definitely check out our website, businessbalancebliss.com, and sign up for these events that are coming up so that we can help you create these plans and be there as your facilitator and for accountability to make sure that you achieve what you want. And so I hope this episode was helpful for you. Like I said, we'll be putting out more episodes for you so that you can take these little actions in your life. And I'd love to hear if there's other things that you're struggling with that you want help with as well. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Breaking Beliefs podcast. I hope you will take a moment to pause before entering back into your day to reflect on this podcast and note 1 to 2 actions you are inspired to do from today's conversation that you could incorporate into your life. To read the full blog and listen back to this episode or any other, you can find them at www.amyvetter.com/Breaking Beliefs podcast and related videos on my YouTube channel. For daily inspiration, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Amy Vetter CPA. I hope that you will choose to like this and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and more so that you can join us for more inspiration on our next episode.